What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. As you know, today we have a very interesting topic. Today we will be discussing the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now I'm going to be breaking up this video into 4 different sections to help us better understand it. Number 1, what are the Dead Sea Scrolls? 2, who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls? 3, what's inside the Dead Sea Scrolls? By the way, I will be adding my sources to the description, so if you don't believe me, go check those out. Let us begin with number 1. What are the Dead Sea Scrolls? The Dead Sea Scrolls are ancient Jewish manuscripts, most of them written in Hebrew, some in Aramaic, and few in Greek. Many of these scrolls and fragments are over 2,000 years old, dating to before the birth of Jesus. About 1/4, or just over 200 manuscripts, are copies of portions of the Hebrew Bible text. Additional manuscripts represent ancient non-biblical Jewish writings, including things like the Apocrypha. Among the first scrolls obtained from the Bedouins were 7 lengthy manuscripts in various stages of deterioration. As more of these Qumran caves were searched, other scrolls and thousands of scroll fragments were found. Between the years of 1947 and 1956, a total of 11 caves containing scrolls were discovered near Qumran by the Dead Sea. When all of the scrolls and fragments are sorted out, they account for about 800 manuscripts. Now, this excites scholars because it basically provides ancient commentary on older biblical passages, which is something that we're always asking. You always hear the question, especially among scholars and theologians, what did the ancient church believe? What did the ancient people of Israel really believe back then? Well, the Dead Sea Scroll gives us this information. But let's move on to question number 2. Who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls? Professor Eliezer Sakinik, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry, who obtained 3 scrolls for the Hebrew University in Jerusalem in 1947, was the first to propose that these scrolls had belonged to a community of Essenes. The Essenes were a Jewish sect mentioned by first-century writers such as Josephus and Philo of Alexandria. The exact origin of the Essenes is a matter of speculation, but Josephus reported on their existence during that period as he detailed how their religious views differed from those of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Other ancient writers mention the location of a community of Essenes by the Dead Sea around Jericho. So this leads us to question number 3. What is inside the Dead Sea Scrolls? Here's where it starts to get crazy. To make this as simple as possible, I'm going to be providing this information to you in 2 different categories. One is non-biblical text and one is biblical text. So let's begin with biblical text. These manuscripts contain material now considered to be a part of the Hebrew Bible. Every book is represented among the Dead Sea Scrolls except the book of Esther. These are the oldest known copies of biblical works. They also found the translation of scripture. These are translations of scriptural text into Aramaic and Greek, which is huge for all of you Hebrew and Greek language experts out there, which I'm not. There were these things called the Tefillin, which again, I might be pronouncing these things wrong, but anyway, there are these things called the Tefillin that were small slips of parchment paper containing excerpts of biblical text found in these caves. One of these exact biblical excerpts is from Deuteronomy 6:6-9. And these words, which I command you this day, shall be upon your heart. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for frontlets between your eyes. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. And lastly, there were found mezuzot, I think that's how you pronounce it. The biblical passages on the mezuzot often include the same texts that appear on the doorpost of Jewish homes today. So we've got scripture, we've got the Tefillin, and we've got the mezuzot. And again, I might be pronouncing all of those wrong, but sorry. So let us now begin with non-biblical compositions. The term Apocrypha is used here to refer to the specific collection of books considered to be canonical in the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox traditions, but not part of the Hebrew Bible or Protestant canon. 3 works of the Apocrypha are found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, which I think is honestly pretty cool. And I'm a Protestant, technically. The Book of Tobit and the Epistle of Jeremiah are the only 2 books from the Apocrypha that were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. We also have calendrical text. These manuscripts are especially valued for their orderly and systematic list of days and months. The most prominent calendar consists of 364 days dividing into 4 seasons of 13 weeks each. Next up, we have exegetical text. The term exegetical text used here refers to texts that analyze and interpret biblical works through explicit reference. The most well-known of these texts are the commentaries on the book of Genesis. Next up, we got historical text. These historical texts relate to historical events. Some of these works feature moral and theological interpretation of the events. These fragments mention historical people such as the Greek kings, and many of the events described here are set in the midst of war and rebellion. Also found among the Dead Sea Scrolls were legal texts. These legal texts were a composite of texts that deals with matters of religious law. Biblical legal text covers a broad range of subjects, including civil matters, ritual requirements such as festivals, temple service, and physical purity. Next up, we have parabiblical text. The term parabiblical text is used here to refer to the texts that relate to scriptural works by retelling, expanding upon, or re-embellishing in biblical stories or legal text, which may have given scriptural status by certain groups in ancient times. Next up, we have one of the most interesting ones to me, the poetical and liturgical text. Some of these texts would have been used for personal study or reflection, while others were intended for more formal liturgical use, such as daily prayers and festival prayers, and the songs of the Sabbath sacrifice. There were many additional letters and documents found within the Dead Sea Scrolls. These are all non-biblical. So I'm going to let you do further research on this. I provided you with a lot of information, and I've learned something new today. I hope you did too. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. Peace.